Hi, and welcome in. It is Rhonda with Inking All Night with Rhonda, and I am an independent demonstrator located in Phoenix, Arizona, and here's where you can find me and how to get a hold of me. I would be happy to help you if you don't already have a demonstrator. Again, my name is Rhonda Morgan, Phoenix, Arizona, and I've been an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! For almost coming up on my 25th anniversary in early October. So, can you believe it? Anyhow, one of the products that we carry in our online store is some kit collections. They are all-inclusive Stampin' Up! Exclusive only kits that come in this cute little box, and they are available while supplies last, guaranteed to stick around for a year or two. So if you go to my blog, my website, rhondamorgan.stampinup.net, you can shop under the category called Kit Collections. We have some that are stamping, and we have some that are non-stamping that just require assembly. So wherever floats your boat, whatever piques your interest, I would be happy to help you get started on one. So today I'm going to kind of quickly go through how to put one together and what does one of our kits look like. So the one I'm going to do today is called A Million Thanks. It is a card kit. It does have stamping in it. All of our kits come in this wonderful box, so they are reusable. You've got a cute thing here, you know, some sign, polka dots on the side, your box, and you're going to open this up, and then your kit contents will all be in here. I've taken it out so that I have it ready, so you can save and re-gift the box. You can always like turn it over. You can always, you know, put some designer series paper on there, put some other cardstock on it, decorate the top. It makes a great re-gifting box. It's also great for mailing things. So one of the first things you'll see when you get it is you have your instruction booklet. So it tells you which kit you're working with. It shows you the finished projects. And then as you open it, it's going to walk you through. The next page that I like to look at is this one. And this one has card number 1, 2, 3. So it'll identify each project. And then what it tells you is which items go with each project. So the first thing I typically do is use this set to then pull my pieces and then come in and stack what goes together. So if you want to make them the way the kit shows you, you would do this and sort your items. And then you have the instructions for making card number 1, card number 2, and card number 3. So you get color print, and then you'll see that there's these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you flip to the very back, okay, this one shows the kit contents, all the little pieces that are included. Usually, I must have missed it somewhere, it'll tell you with the dots, like here's the stamping, your ink spot, your stamp, this image is on the block, and then you're going to use the ink, then you get an ink spot, and then it tells you which pieces you're going to punch out, and then this little symbol shows for dimensionals behind it, and then you have the little bling. So sometimes on the grid it'll tell you what number 1, 2, and 3 the steps mean. I'm not seeing it necessarily on this one, so let's just go ahead and we'll move on. We're going to put this page in front of us, so I'm going to just show you that all of our cards come. For this one, card number 1, look at that. It's a nice embossed card, really nice embossed card front, colored back. You have your white insides ready to go to write on. It's going to tell you to look for the labels, and these are what you'll stamp on. So you're making 3 cards of each, but they've given you 5 labels. So you just, these are pre-die cut, and you just pop them out. So you're just gonna simply, on those little pieces, you're gonna pop those out. So if you stamp 3 for 3, then you have a couple of extras that you can add later to personal stamping. Or if you have a mess up, well, don't worry, they gave you an extra one. So, and then the back side is just white. So if you didn't want this little border on it, you could always flip it over and use the back side for something else. So you just perforate these right off, and then you'll have those. And then it also tells us to look for the little fruits, and I'm going to show you what those come in as. So we've gotten 3 sheets that look like this. And again, these images are already pre-printed, so these are not stamped images, they're pre-printed. You can see they're loose. So you're simply going to, on this one we need the orange slices. So we just pop those out. I've already popped the ones out off of the second and third sheet, but I wanted to show you how the sheet came. So I'm going to toss that in the bin, and then we will just punch our little limes here, and those will go in this little, I like my little vintage Jello modes. So this is going to have all my little accessory pieces. So I've got my labels, my fruit, and then I need these little tiny flowers. And so this part of the stamping is already done for you because it's, you know, stamped, punched out, die cut out, whatever you want to call this, and it's already colored in. So you don't even have to do that work. So that is going to be what we need. And then we also have in the kit, we have some items that you use across all the projects, which you've got your bling. So that's these dots here. It'll tell you how many you need. And then over here you can see that there's like bling in here as well. So that's the bling. These are the dimensionals, the Stampin' Dimensionals there. They're like the sticky foam tape. So if you want to add height, then you use these dimensionals behind it. And these are mini glue dots that lay flat on a sheet. We normally typically sell them on a spool, but these come so that they lay flat in your kit, just straight on, you know, the little cello sheet there. So you'll have those that you use. You get it either one at a minimum, sometimes more. Your stamping spot, this is Evening Evergreen, and then you're just going to slice here on the front and the back, and then you're going to have your ink source here. So you always want to keep the lid nice and tight, and then typically you would store them upside down so that the ink would stay towards the surface for you. And actually I think that goes on like that, so then my little label matches. So you really just slice the label on the two sides, okay? And so that's your ink. And then you do get the stamp set, and in this set, you also, in all the kits, you also get a clear block. So this is called our Paper Pumpkin Clear Block D. So it will fit all of the images that come in your stamp set. And you may have to put something on the diagonal, make it a little longer. Typically they, you know, will fit easily there. So if you already have some stamping blocks, you can feel free to pull your personal ones in, but I just wanted to show you to get your stamp set and the ink spot and the block. All of that will stick with you after you've made these cards. So then you can create and craft again on your own with any other supplies. So we're going to slide this first card out of the way. We've got all the goodies to make it over here. And then the next card we're going to bring in is the pink. And so with the pink, I've already gone in and I've got labels here. So I have punched these out, so they're already printed. And I've just punched them out of the perforation there. And then here we have kind of some fake ribbon, if we look at that. And I've punched these pieces, excuse me, while I grab this, out of this this panel. So they just pop out, and so you've got 3 of those. And so there's my 3. And so we'll have those ready. And then on this one we have our labels. And then it tells you which image you're also going to stamp with. So, and then on the last card, we have these beautiful, oh, I forgot to show you the pink. The pink is embossed. You can see that shine right through there reflecting. And this one's kind of got like a little square grid that's kind of, you can see the lines aren't straight across, so it's really easy on the eye. And so you have your pink card bases with your white insides, and of course it's pink throughout the back. So that was card number 2. Now to move to card number 3. Got ahead of myself. This is kind of the Evening Evergreen color, and this one has kind of not quite polka dots, but polka dots. They're a little bit odd, not quite full circle shapes, but really fun. Again, your evergreen with your evergreen back, and you're going to have your white inside. So you've got 3 cards of each. And then again, back to this sheet, it's going to tell you which items you need. So on this one, you need to, this is already, you can see, loose and die cut, but you want to be a little bit more careful releasing it from the page because these, you don't want to break your leaves. So I'm just gently pulling that against the paper, kind of lifting it up to see where it's attached, and then give it just a tiny little pressure of a tug, and then that will release. And then we have all of those. And then we also have the rest of the remaining flowers. So we can go ahead and, you know, pop those out as well. You can either press down, press up, whichever way works better for your fingers. I can't seem to decide, doing it a little bit of each. So now I have all of those released, so I can put that piece in the garbage. And then we've got these little tags here. I'm not sure if you can see that. But, so this will be our tag for this one. We had a tag here, and we have this one over here for our stamping. So again, we're making 3 cards. They've given us 5 little tag panels. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we have our main focal image for our background. And these are pre-printed. And they're die cut, so they're perforated on here. You just, you know, walk it around and release from the panel. If you wanted to stamp something on here, you want to use that as a stencil, you could save it. But I have way more, way more excess things than I need in my studio. So I am going to go ahead and let that go to the recycle area. So anyway, so we have that. So these 2 aren't in my cute little tin because they're a little bit big. But I have my little tin here with my greetings and all of my like flowers punched out. So we'll just kind of come in under here and we'll scoop those up so they're in there and contained. And then we have all of our that little work to set up our stamping is all pre-punched and ready to go. So that way you kind of have your piles with what you're working on. If you want to stray and get creative from what's here, you can make one of each the way that they're intended and then mix and match your pieces, because obviously the color scheme goes with anything. So you could do, you know, that panel on there as well as the card where it's on the darker green. So you can feel free to mix and match your pieces. You can feel free to use the stamp set and add some extra cardstock in as well. So now if we move to card number 1, it tells us we're going to use the thank you image. So for the sake of the video, I'm really only going to stamp and assemble 1 card of each for you, just to show you how quick. And these are not intended to take all day. These are intended, like, you can take these on vacation. You could sit if you've got, you know, a quick 45 minutes or an hour and you want to stamp. I think that's going to fit. So I'm just going to square it up on my grid here. Oh, it's sticking to my fingers. Let's see if I can get that there. Okay, and then I got a glitter for my ribbons. I'm going to go ahead and press that down. And now my stamp image is adhered to my block. And so we've got our ink and our greeting. And so this is where it's going to show you apply the ink. I'll get up here on screen for you. And so I'm just tapping. I find it easy when you're using the spot. It just fits in this like 1 finger. So hold your edges and then just press down to get nice and good ink coverage. If you're worried about whether you're going to get a good impression or not, then you can always stamp on your grid paper first, just to see how much pressure you need and if you've got it good and inked. I know you can't see that, sorry. But that way you kind of get a feel for how much pressure you need and whether or not you were, you know, how much tapping. If your ink pad is nice and juicy, then you can just kind of re-ink that up. And the way that you would do this if you were stamping for yourself to make the entire kit is you would stamp all your greetings, one right after the other. So I'm going to go ahead, lean in here a little bit, kind of eyeball to make sure that I get it in here. And I'm just straight down, give that a second to impress into the paper, and lift straight up. And then you would simply go ink, stamp, ink, stamp. You need 3 of them. So if you wanted to do a different greeting, you could certainly do that, and you could pick any other greeting if you wanted thanks, or if you needed grateful. Anyhow, you could swap these greetings on the different labels as long as they fit. So I'm just going to call that done for right now, and I've got my 1 greeting panel stamped. And then let's see, we are going to number 2. It tells us to use I believe those are dimensionals, so I'm just going to grab some dimensionals. I have some right here handy, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to set that out of the way. And I'm gonna pick up a couple. And now, as you can see, if you skip ahead, we've got all these pieces. So we're putting our greeting down first, but the reason that they've only got a couple on here, and they're kind of towards the center, if you can see that, is because if you can see here, bring that in a little closer, what we're gonna do is all these little pieces, we're gonna be adding those in, and they tuck in under the edges. So that's why the little dimensionals are just in the center here. And again, you can make these as is, you can get creative. So this just shows that it's in this lower half. Most of your vinage is already up, so you're just gonna plop this in, give it a, try to see if you can get it a little bit straight. If not, we've got all that fruit going around it, so don't worry. And then we need a couple of the oranges, it said, and we need like the three flowers, and I think 4 of the little limes. So we'll put those in for the other cards. And then on here, I think you can, decide if you want some of them to be with the dimensionals and if you want some of them to be with mini glue dots. Sorry, I'm looking for one of my tools that I absolutely love is called a take your pick tool. And it works great for this. So I've got here with a spatula end on one end, and it does a lock, unlock. And then on the other end, it's kind of like a piercing tool, but also, like just gives you the pointy end to like pick up. And then over here, you've got your gummed end, and that's what I could use to just pick this straight up. Like if I'm having a hard time with nails, or if it's just too little for my fingers, then I can do that. So I'm gonna go ahead, and as you turn this, more of this putty comes out on this end. And this tool is $10. It's available in the store if it's a handy tool, something you might like or need. So I'm going to kind of go ahead here, and it just shows what we're using, and we can follow this layout or we can do whatever. And then this shows us we add the 3 little bling to finish out our card. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to decide to put all of my I think I'm going to put my limes down first, and I'm just going to work off of my spool here of mini glue dots. But this is where you would use that flat sheet of your mini glue dots and just get, like 1 each on there. It's paper sticking to paper. And then we'll just come in here. Otherwise, tweezers work great too. So you've got little freckle dots on one side and kind of plain. So you can kind of do it however you want. I'm going to stick one like it shows, coming in here off the end, making sure that I avoid going off my total edge. I'm going to come in here. If you have tweezers, they can be really helpful too. I'm going to come in here, have my little, I'm going to call them freckle dots. Those will show. And then I'm going to kind of come up here and stick another one like that. And then I think on my fruit, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn these over. I peeled that, see how that poked the sticky, right, the backing off. And then I'm just going to kind of, I'm going to use 2, just because I'm sure with your set of this many dimensionals, you're probably not going to run out either. So, and then I'm just going to bring this in like it's shown and kind of pat it down. And I'm going to grab one here, pull that backing off, grab another one, and pull that backing off, and then I can just pick it up. And then this one sort of tucks in over here on the end, like so. And then on this one, if we notice from the card, you can tell that this little lime kind of comes up over the orange. That's why I didn't put that one in yet. All the rest of these look like they're under. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that last lime. I'm going to pull it off of my little spool with my mini glue dot on the back. And I'm just going to tuck that in kind of at the angle up here. And you can do it however far in or not. With these, I think I'm just going to use the mini glue dots. And then we'll grab our little flower. And we've got kind of a flower here, and it sort of overlaps a little bit with the card. with our tags, we're just going to kind of press that down, and then we'll pick up our next glue dot, and then I can use my tool to pick that up, set my glue dot down on there, and I've kind of wadded my glue dot up a little bit, like rolled it, just to make it smaller, and it gives it a little height. And we've got one down here, so I'm just going to kind of float that right off that corner like they show, and then we'll pick up our last one, grab a glue dot. Now yours are flat on the paper, but you're still just going to pick them up. You can pick them up with your finger. Sorry. It'll stick to my nail. And you can just roll the glue dot like that a little bit. And then just stick that to your little flower there. I was just trying to show you kind of how I rolled them up. And then we'll go ahead and you can plop this one wherever you want. It's just in thirds, so I'm going to stick that over here like that. And then we have our card. And now here we're going to come in and we are going to add our bling. So these are the mini glue dots that you would be using, and you just simply pick that straight up and then you'll peel this backing off. Okay, and then your dimensionals are the same as what I was using, but I already have some started, so I was just using what I had going. And then here's your bling. With your pick your tool, it's easy to just start at the corner with the putty end, and you're just going to push and slide against that bling, and it sort of picks it up. And then here it tells us we kind of put one over here in this open space, and then you can press it flat, push a little bit at the angle there, it picks it up. We've got one up over here. And again, typically bling we kind of create, you want to probably use an odd number typically, like 3 is a good start. And then you create kind of a visual triangle. So you can see how we have those 3. And there we have a really cute little thank you card. So we would do the same thing 3 times. When you're working in assembly style, you would do all of your stamping at once, punch out our things, and you could lay all 3 cards right out here. And then you could just plop all of your green down, you could plop all the orange in, then plop all your flowers in, and then do all your bling at once, and then stack that set of 3 aside, and they would be done. And to clean this, if you have a Stampin' Chamois or if you have a Stampin' Scrub, you would just clean it like normal. If you don't, you can use just plain water on a paper towel. You just want to kind of avoid too much of where you might get like paper towel fuzzies or whatever they're called. Same thing if you use, you know, a baby wipe. You can just, you know, press your stamp into the baby wipe and then, you know, get that ink off. To dry it, you can just pat it, make sure that it comes out clean. If you have any ink on the sides of your block, wipe those down. So that's a simple way to clean it if you don't have a scrub or a chamois, and those are available on the website as well. Then you're just going to come down here and you can see I just started to peel. These are photopolymer, so you want to just peel it back. Like here, you don't want to pull and tear. You just kind of keep peeling it off. And then this would just go, there's a thick side and a thin side. And I typically always stick the image back on the thick side. Like this is really thick and this is really thin. So I always stick them on the thick side. And you do want to keep both sides because it just keeps this protected after you've used them and when you want to store it. I'm going to remove it for right now because we're going to move on to the next card. So let's put our extra tags back there. That one is done. I'm going to tear that off. We're going to set up for card number 2. That is our pink one. Oh, no, it's not. It is our dark green. So we're going to bring over our dark green card base. Evening Evergreen. We've got our little tub of our pieces. And then we've got our bigger pieces that didn't fit in the little container. So we've got our focal image and our greenery. Now this card is going landscape. So you can see it's going to kind of go in that direction. Now if you wanted, this isn't shown, you could cut this if you wanted to have it go at an angle, you could go portrait, and you could go this way. That same piece is back there. You didn't even have to cut it. I was gonna say if you wanted to cut this, then you could have more freedom in which way your leaves were going. So you could do it like this, and that's a small modification from what they've designed in the brochure, which is a landscape. And on the landscape, they have basically the leaves. And again, you can see these are two-sided, so if you wanted to get creative and sponge these a different color or stamp and mist, you know, with some re-inker, you could do what you wanted there. It also has this center area, so if there was a greeting that you wanted to put in the center and you didn't want to cover it up, but it just gives you a little bit of oomph to hold those leaves together, and it gives you something to attach so that you're not just attaching by the leaves. So we'll do our first one the way that they did it, and we'll get that ready over here. And then we'll have this that will come over top. And then we have our greeting, and we're gonna pull the one that says, "A million thanks." And again, you just kind of get under here and then just peel is the best word. You're lifting it as you peel it back. I always set it down, so you wanna have the flat side up. Your printed image is gonna be facing down. And then we're gonna see, does it fit that way? It's gonna fit better on the block diagonal. So we'll go like that, and it just gives us a little bit more room. We've got our tag here. We're gonna go ahead, grab our ink spot, and we're just gonna tap to get this one nice and inked up. And then we'll go ahead and do a little test stamp here. Now this can rock a little easier, and that's when your block kind of shifts back and forth because we're on the diagonal. So you could see I kept my fingers over the center. That looks pretty good right there. So I'm gonna go ahead, again, ink this up in full, just pinch your block and tap all the way down from one end to the other. Just a couple times to cover it in ink. And then you wanna have your little greeting there, and you kinda wanna hover. And the thing that I'm gonna look for is center, and I'm gonna look at these L's because the L's are gonna be the longest letters. So I'm gonna try to get those. If you go off the edge a little bit, it's okay because your mind will fill that in anyway. And I didn't get quite a great impression up here. I probably didn't push, you can see I've left more ink up there. So I just have to flip it over. They also gave us extras, but we do have two sides since we're stamping a white piece and it's white on both sides. We can try both sides. If not, I'll just grab an extra that they gave us. Now I'm going to do the same thing again. That's Henry under the table. And we're going to come straight down, and then I'm going to make sure that I kind of press my fingers a little bit more up at the top to get that whole, there we go, a much better impression. And then we'll just kind of blot that. I did have a little wipe here, so I'm going to just pat and press my greeting in there, get that ink off, tap a couple of times to dry, and then I can set my block to the side, cover my ink so that it doesn't dry out while we're sitting here. And then we've got our stamping done. We've got our images. So we've stamped, we've pulled our images. So you can see here they've got some dots out here. So those are going to be the glue dots. And then we've got some dimensionals here. And then when we get to our greeting, I'm going to put mine on with dimensionals. I'm not sure if it's telling me which to use, but I think I want to put mine on with dimensionals. Yeah, because that goes to the next card. Okay, so here we go. We'll go ahead and we will take our mini glue dots, and we're just going to pick them up, and we're going to press. We've got two there on this circles part of the image, and then I'm going to take my glue dot and I'm going to fold it in half on itself, and then I'm going to find kind of a thicker leaf area, and then I can just kind of press that down and it'll be stuck to the leaf, and that will help hold those leaf edges down onto our card base. So it looks like they said to do 3, which is kind of putting excuse me, one out there on each little leaf section. So hopefully you can see this. I'll hold this up in a second so that you can see. Basically, we're just following the directions the way they were posted on our little instruction panel. Grab a couple more for the other end. I'm just folding them in half. And then we'll stick them down. Okay. Oops, sticking to my fingernails. You can see I've got over here, just like what the right angle is, there's two here on the center, and then there's one on each of these little extensions of the leaves on each end. And so then it tells us just to go ahead and we're going to mount that, and we're about halfway into our card, maybe a little bit less, a little bit lower. So just kind of eyeball that you're left to right at a good height, and then we're just going to press down out here on these ends where we know we have, you can kind of feel where your glue dots are because they're folded in half, so they give you a little bit of height there, and then you've just got your two that are here. And now on this one, on our big heart, it looked like they used dimensionals. Now it's kind of big, but they said 3, so we'll do 3, and I'll show you kind of where we're going to put those. And put my heart back up in here into view. So they're in a little bit. If you go way out to the edge, then you're going to leave all this room in the center that's going to kind of sag. So come in a little bit from each of the sides, because it's just going to make that a little tiny bit sturdier. So if we're only using 3, you can see here, if I was way out at these edges, then all of this in the center doesn't have a lot of support. So bringing them in, even like 3/4 or ½ an inch each, gives it a little bit more support. So then we'll pull our little backing off, and then we'll pull our card in, and then that's pretty much centered a little bit. You know, you can look at the pattern on the paper, just press that down. You can see you've got a couple rows down below, couple rows above, so, and you can see a couple on each side. So you can kind of just estimate you're about, you know, like I sometimes use my thumb for the sides. Yeah, pretty close, about the same. You got a couple rows here, couple rows here, so you're just putting that on. That's a cute card just like that. And then now what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach all of our little images. So those come next. So let's get our little tub here. We'll dump some out. Whoops, I guess we went with all of them. So we've got 3 of our gray, grayish green. We've got 2 big pink. And then we've got, you can kind of tell the different shapes when you're picking them up. A couple that matches up there. So then these are all excess for the other cards that we'll make after we're on camera. So on here, they can all lay flat, and you can use mini glue dots. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up a few. I'm going to pick up my orange. Whoops, that went on me. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put these on with a mini glue dot. And so they simply go, and you can kind of turn your card to see if they, sometimes they're symmetrical, where it doesn't matter which leg, and sometimes they might be a little bit specific. So you just can kind of hover this one over top until you see it like maybe that. You can just kind of turn it a little bit. Okay, so this one looks a little skinnier, so let's look for the skinny side. I think it's gonna go. It's really not that hard. I think it goes just like that. So when you put this down, it just gives a little tiny bit of dimension there. You can see I got a little bit off, so I'm just going to push with my finger and that lines back up. The other thing you can do here is if you wanted, you could twist them, and then you would get a little bit of those leaves poking in, you know, from below, and you could have these ones kind of hanging out at an angle slightly above. On my pink, I'm going to go ahead and pick up a couple dimensionals, and you could do one. I'm going to go ahead and just put 2 on each of our pink flowers. And you could just do like the 1, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll just put this one up in the corner and have it be raised up, because I got ahead of myself here and I forgot we're going to be adding this greeting, and this greeting is going to come across right kind of in this area. So if I raise this, I'm going to have this raised as well. So I think I'm just going to go ahead on the other pink, and I'm going to use the mini glue dots. So we'll just stick one down there on the center and then pick it up. This one's pretty easy because you've got this bigger gap here that feels like it just goes right there. So that one, I say that, and I think it goes like this now. There we go. So what I was saying is if you wanted it to look like a bigger rounded flower, you could go like that and have them lay over across each other a little bit. And then in this one, we'll just put it down in the center. And now we've got our little grayish green. I think they're probably soft succulent, actually. Because gray green's not a Stampin' Up! Color, but soft succulent sure is. And this is Evening Evergreen. It's beautiful. They're 2 of our in colors. So now we'll come in here and we'll pick these up. And then we'll just get those ready to lay down. And you might think this is a little bit redundant because we already have it, so that's fine. You could use these if you didn't want to lay them over. You can use them to decorate like the inside of your card as well. Let's see. I'll just go ahead. Sorry, I have it like further away, so I kind of have to like stretch it a little bit to see exactly my angle. So apologize for that delay in being able to place things. And there we go. So even with a dimensional, or I mean, even with a mini glue dot, it does give you a bit of dimension. Obviously, you can see where the dimensionals under there gives that quite a bit more pop. You can also, like, if you want to roll these edges a little bit, then you can create even a little bit more illusion of these being a little bit curled. And then now we have our greeting. So we're going to go ahead and pick up. This is the bad side because I have my not perfect stamping, and then on this side we have our full. So I want to make sure that I put my bad side goes down. One thing you could do is if you put your dimensionals on your tag, your greeting line, then you got to wonder where. So I can just kind of envision where this is going to go. And I'm just going to put my fingers here, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put, just lay down a couple dimensionals. And then it doesn't matter where they fall on the back of my little greeting panel because they're right where I want them on my card. For good measure, I'm sure it said to do 2, but I'm going to throw a 3rd one on there. And then we'll just go ahead, kind of eyeball that to make sure a little bit of each of our flowers is poking through, and then just press that down on your dimensionals. So you do have dimensionals under this heart image and here, but it's still going to fit in the envelope and basically mail flat. So, and then we have our little gems to bring back in. And on this one, it looks like they're saying we use 2. Oops, get that off of there. And they've got them positioned here and here. And that seems kind of a little bit weird because now they're covered up under here. So I'm going to place mine a little bit different. Not quite sure why they would not have them be in full view unless they accidentally covered them with their greeting. So, but since we see that, we can go ahead and figure out where we want to place them. So I could stick one down here and have it be there. You could stick them on the greeting and do opposite ends. You could do even. You could go a little cockeyed up and down. So we will, let's see, we'll do one over here. And I just went over top of one of those little polka dotted see-through places. And again, I'm using my pick tool with the putty end. And I'm just going to push and slide against that bling. And there's self-adhesive on the back. And so then now we just get to decide where we want to put this one. So we could go across, we could go like this, we could go out here, we could bring it down here. And I think it might go right over there in the corner. And then it kind of is kitty cornered. And it kind of, you know, draws your eye across the whole thing. So that is card number 2. And again, you could use any of your greetings on the inside. If you have any good sets that are innie outies, which is like if this says a million thanks, and you have a greeting in your stash that says, I appreciate everything you do, you could add an inside greeting and leave room to sign. Again, if you didn't want to put all of these florals over top of the places that are on the heart, you could just decorate in line, like some down in the corners here. You could even bring them off the edge and just cut them flush to the edge if they hang over. So that is super fun. And then we will move this stuff to the side and we will bring in our pink card. And we will move on to card number 3. So over here, we're going to use our Simply Grateful. So we're going to bring in our block and we're going to peel and lift the prior greeting. And we'll put that back on the hefty side. And then we'll peel off our Seriously Grateful for You. Okay, and you do have a couple more. All I can say is thanks. You've got some little florals here. So you could decorate your envelopes, you could add an accessory greeting to the inside, whatever you feel like. But I just wanted to show you how relaxing, how quick. The instructions are right there. You get everything you need. It's called an all-inclusive. So other than, you know, scissors if you need them, or maybe like the take your pick tool just to make it a little bit easier, you don't really need a whole lot of extra. You know, they've given you even the adhesive and everything right in there. So again, they've shown this one as a landscape card. So we've pulled in our little floral. There's 1 flower on that side and 2 there, so you can get the orientation if you want to do it the same way they did. Shows you we're going to use the Seriously Grateful in our ink. So we'll get that ready. We have our little fake ribbon, and that's going to look like 4 mini glue dots there. And then we're going to put dimensionals on the back of our greeting once we get it stamped. Now this one is white on the back and it's printed on the front. So you're not quite the same if you mess up on the front side. It'll be a little bit different. Or they gave you extras. So then we'll do that, and then we'll add our little bling. So, all right. So we will go ahead and stamp this. Just get some mini glue dots on the back, you know, to secure it down. So I'm going to just flip that over to get that ready for mini glue dots. And we're going to pick up our ink. We've got our Seriously Grateful already mounted. So we will just tap, tap, tap all the way down and back. This is a little bit wider, so make sure you're kind of, and all you really need to do is tap. You don't need to mush. You don't need to like overly press too hard. We'll set that down. And again, we will just do a little tester. Now here I'm holding kind of the sides, you can see. And then I've got a finger ready to press down in the center. So I do want to make sure that I get all of that pressed. Now if you're using a full-size ink pad, there's a lot of surface, and you can see like I did get some ink excess right here. I don't know if you can see it that great, but there's a little extra from pressing. So if you rock the stamp back and forth and that ink is out on an edge that touches the paper when you rock, then it will come off on your image. So you can just take your same little wipe. Your ink will stay wet just for a minute there, you know, a few seconds. And you could wipe that off if you're worried that it was going to get on your project piece. So we'll go ahead. And it's always good to test on your blotter sheet. If you don't have these grids, which you can get in the online store, then you can just use a piece of copy paper underneath you. Because the copy paper is clean and it's not going to have like newspaper. I don't even know if we do a printed newspaper anymore. But you know how you used to always get the black from the print? So you wouldn't want to do that kind of a thing. But a plain piece of copy paper would work great. So we'll go ahead, we'll hold this. I'm trying to do it so you can see as well. And I'm going to take, because this is the angle, and I'm going to take this seriously, and I'm going to kind of shoot for this area of my tag. And if it feels like it's been a while, you can just breathe on it to re-moisten it. And then we'll go ahead and we'll just press across our letters there. And you can see I'm pressing, but I'm not rocking. So there we've got our greeting, and we'll just go ahead and blot that dry. Again, if we were doing all of our cards, it's so much faster to go assembly style. Just stamp, stamp, stamp. Then you're done with that, clean it, and then when you would come over here to do your dimensionals and glue dotting, you would have the 3 cards out, you would have these pieces. Same thing, you could take this to your little flat sheet and then just peel the backing off, and then you can just stick that right to it. Same as I'm doing here, like this is basically peeling the backing off, and then I'm just going to press that and lift up. Press that. You don't want to tear, you want to lift, because the glue dots can be sticky. Oh look, that's funny. Oh, looks like a little halo there from cardstock, or maybe it's a little Henry hair, I'm not sure which. And then we'll pick up, oh, and see, I just did my nails to go on my trip, so this stuff sticks to them really strongly. And I'm going to go ahead, they said the 4 corners, but I'm going to take the center of that, and I'm just going to put one there. And now this is just our little like N or Z. We're going horizontal, and the card just showed kind of in the middle. So if you want to do straight, this is where I love my little tweezers, but I don't have them in front of me. I can hold it with my tweezers, and then I can just kind of place. So I'm going to go just a little tiny bit off so that it's not just straight, because my rows are a little bit straight. So I just put it at a little tiny bit of an angle. And then on our greeting, it showed us to put a few dimensionals on there. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab one. Again, because we're not using very many, you're just using enough to hold it in place. One in the center and then one towards the ends. If you went all the way out, it stretches it, but if you just kind of come a little bit in from the edges again, it will give you a nice firm hold. And then we've got just our 3. And you can see I didn't go all the way to the edge. I'm in just a little bit, and then one kind of in the center. If you wanted to load it up and use more, and if you have extra dimensionals at home, you certainly could do that. And this is just going to be basically centered over our little paper ribbon. And I want a little bit of these ends where it's doubled to show, so I don't want to cover it too much. And then we've got our Seriously Grateful for You. And then we're going to bring in our bling. Like, look at how fast this card is. Everybody can do this card. You're just going to push with your tool, or you can just reach down in there, pick it up. You can also, if you want to use like a little slice with your blade of your scissors, you can come in under that. Just it's nice when you just push, because then you're not touching necessarily the adhesive down below. So, and then they just kind of did them over here like one, so they're kind of going that little bit kitty corner. Sometimes, you know, when you do the 3, you can, you know, stretch them out and do like a triangle thing. You could put this here. They show it like basically kind of these 2 being off this corner, but again, it draws your eye through the whole greeting and across to your things. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and bring these all back in so you can see all 3 cards. We'll just flip this over for a clean little thing. So we've got the So Seriously Grateful for You here. We've got our Thank You. And then we've got our Million Thanks. So that is how the kit has you assembled each. And you would just make the 3 of each, and you would have 9 cards. You're going to have your leftovers of whatever might be left for your dimensionals and stuff. You're going to get to keep your stamp set, your ink, and your block. So you can use these thank you greetings and stuff on anything else you might have, any crafting that you do at home. So anyhow, Again, this kit is right there on the screen. A million thanks. There's the item number, and you can shop with me anytime at rondamorgan.stampinup.net. Again, you can either key that item number into the search window of the website when you get to the storefront, or you can plug in a million thanks in the search, and then you can also just shop by the section. In the section where you're going to find all of our current kits that are available that are in stock is in the area called Kits and Kits Collections. This is a stamping one, so you knew it was came with an ink spot and a stamp set. And there are a couple that I'll show at a later date that are non-stamping, and so they're going to run a little bit less because they don't include a stamp set or any ink spots. So I hope you enjoyed this little visit and our stamping of a kit together. Thanks and have a great day.